What's going on? And welcome to SPN Lineups featuring Philly D and Steve, the Fantasy Assassin. Check us out on Twitter at SPN Lineups. You can find our videos on Facebook and Instagram at No Limit Fantasy Sports. Today, we're talking NBA. Check out CryptoFantasySports.com, where we have our very own tournament, the SPN Lineup Special. It is free to enter, we run it every day, and the winner gets $10 in No Limit coin. The catch is you have to include the player I'll be naming later in the show on your roster in order to be eligible. The high scoring team with that player wins the prize. Last night's winner, Congo. Good to see you, buddy. You were picking up those NHL wins, and now you're just sliding it over to NBA. Remember that, guys. Multiple sports, multiple wins. What's going on? Leave us a comment with your NLC2 address, and we'll ship the prize to you, buddy. Steve, how are you doing on this fine day?
I mean, I didn't really get much sleep last night, but it's all good today. I'll get you started with last night. Last night was a minefield with low scores all across the board. Though, as on every slate, there were some standouts. I'll start by saying I was wrong about Kyle Lowry. He put up 60 and returned a 7x value. When I was thinking about that game, I figured that Toronto's bench would be a difference maker like it usually is, but Brooklyn came to play, and ultimately the Raptors did outlast them 116 to 112, and the game was way closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I watched that game. San Antonio needed extra time, but ultimately they outlasted the Jazz 124 to 120. It was all about Aldridge as LaMarcus put up a monster 65.75 score, good for 7.6x value, even with his hefty price tag last night. On the Jazz side, super rookie Donovan Mitchell put up 7.3x value from the shooting guard position.
And I was kind of right about Tim Hardaway, saying I didn't know which one to trust between him and Beasley, but I was really wrong about Hardaway in particular. He was worth the risk last night. He posted 54 points for value at 8.8 times. Karl Anthony Towns turned in a 54.75 score, but our mini stack with him and Teague was kind of disappointing, as Teague only managed 20.5.
Yes, he's definitely on my bench. OKC 105, Miami 99. Teague on the bench until his salary drops back in the sixes, just so everybody knows. Pretty disappointing nights from everyone in that OKC Miami match, except for Steven Adams, who had 44 fantasy points for a 6,500 price tag. The line on this game at tip-off was 217, which seemed way too high for me, and for good reason.
And for Cleveland, they got a bunch of guys back as Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance, and Rodney Hood all returned to action, right as LeBron's price peaked, and he just barely returned 4x value. The Suns decided to start Marquise Chris instead of Alex Len, and he came back with a crazy 11.7x value. Teammate Troy Daniels had another good game with Devin Booker out, and he brought back 8x value for his 3,900 price tag. Oh yeah, Cleveland won this one, 120 to 95, but who cares?
It was the Bojan Bogdanovic, I'm sorry for butchering that name, show in Indiana as he led the Pacers to a 109-104 win over the Clippers, posting 39.75 points and returning a 9x value. Lou Williams also went off 55.5 fantasy points, but it wasn't enough for the Clippers. Just too much bogey in this one.
Now the Bucks, they gave their bench big minutes in this game, and value pick Brandon Jennings was definitely a beneficiary of Greek Freak sitting this game out, and he racked up 33 points on a salary of just $3,700, and well under 1% ownership like rocket ship Kelly Oubre a few days ago. And I really love when these ones work out because I kind of stick my neck out there a little bit. And I think I was right about their hesitance to put the ball in Bledsoe's hands, as he only played 20 minutes last night.
We've got 5 games on the slate tonight with a 6 p.m. start time in Philly. We didn't have the 7 o'clock games. We had actually only the 7 o'clock games starting. But as we just noticed, they've posted the 6 p.m. game in there, but the salaries seem to be just a little bit too high. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
I'd say so. So this game's still an avoid while we work on this issue.
Yes.
And at first glance, all these games look awful except for one of them. And I'm sure you have much better things to do on a Saturday night than watch Deontay Davis brick layups. But we're here every day. It's called The Grind for a reason.
We do it 365, baby. We got Chicago at Detroit. Blake and Drummond. Bit of a risk. One of them resting, or maybe the game's going to be a blowout. But they can both just absolutely feast on the Bulls tonight. Zips are still out. Markkanen is resting today. Dunn and Levine still out as well.
So we're going to have to take a look a little deeper at that Chicago game, but honestly, I have no idea who's going to get the ball. It is a minefield. Another game that's a minefield, Phoenix at Orlando. Check on Devin Booker and TJ Warren's status. I feel like we say that every day. But it really creates some opportunities for value picks. And if they're in, there's nobody relevant to play in Phoenix. I think Josh Jackson's salary is still a little bit too high at $7,000. Over on the Orlando side, Nick Vucevic is $7,600 and Gordon is $7,500. And I think both of those guys should be in line for about 5 to 6x value today.
Charlotte at Dallas. Woo! Dwight Howard will be back tonight. He and Kemba are still great plays, in my opinion. Batum still doubtful for the Hornets. Dennis Smith back in action for the Mavs as a nice value play tonight, $5,900. Dirk is questionable. You would think that they'd play Nerlens Noel if Dirk's out, but tread carefully. We got the always exciting DNP for the last game. We expected him to play, so
the unannounced DNP.
That's the unannounced. Worst. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh boy! But you know what's actually the worst is the Memphis Grizzlies. I went out to the game the other night and they lost by a score. I think it was 140 to 79 or something. But either way, when you lose an NBA game by over 60 points, you're going to take some shit for it the next day. Tonight, there's no Tyreke Evans, but we do have Marc Gasol coming back. So those things kind of cancel out a little bit. I didn't see anything from anybody on Memphis. I mean, Wayne Selden looked okay in his limited minutes, but he still isn't very good. The Lakers, on the other hand, though, I think this is the time to go back to that Lakers stack with Caldwell Pope, Kuzma, Randall, and Lopez, just based on the amount of points Memphis gives up to opponents and the minutes they'll be playing, because now Isaiah Thomas is out, so there should be even more minutes to go around for the starters. So 35, 40 minutes per guy, unless it's a massive blowout, which could very well happen.
New Orleans at Houston. The line on this one is 226, and honestly, I see both the teams just blowing right past this. As much as Houston's been comfortable playing low-scoring games this year, I see both teams wanting to push the tempo up and creating a lot of scoring chances. With the smaller slate, anyone's in play tonight, but it's going to be tough to afford the expensive guys like AD and Harden. So I'd look more to Drew Holiday at $8,200. Also, Take a peek at Eric Gordon at 6,800. That is if Chris Paul is out. His status right now is questionable. We have Mba Amute. Who is out? That was a good one. Which isn't that big of a deal, but could boost Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker to 6x value today. Rondo also out. Mirotic is questionable.
That's going to have a big impact on New Orleans tonight. So pretty much the story of the day is check the news before lineups lock tonight. There's going to be a lot more changes. Nothing's really set in stone. But we got some value picks for you. And I'll be honest, let's skip right past the point guards. I really don't want you to play either of those guys. But they're there if you want to look them up.
We had to.
Shooting guard, however, has quite a bit. I mean, I've got the car going off the road next to Luke Kennard because a lot of his points are based off him being a deadly three-point shooter. And while he's shown up the last couple games, it's just so hard to really count on that on a given night. However, underneath him for $400 less, I mean, Troy Daniels has put up high 20s the last 3 or 4 times out. As long as Booker's still out, his salary hasn't gone up yet, so $3,900. He's almost a lock for 6x value. Small forward Trevor Ariza, $4,700 for Houston. Mba Mute being out definitely helps Trevor's minutes. I see him playing at least 35 in this game, and he's not super productive in his minutes, but he can get hot from 3, so he's a good rebounder too. He's just kind of a safe pick right here. Same exact thing with Marvin Williams. He's actually a better three-point shooter than most people think, and he just doesn't play a whole ton of minutes to really be too relevant, but I see a 6x pretty easy for him tonight. Now, Marquise Chris and Alex Len, we got to talk about these guys together because Phoenix is just throwing darts at the board right now and seeing what sticks, and none of them are even sticking to the dartboard. But in the middle of this, we got some good cheap fantasy performances. You're going to want to check their lineup right up to the start because who the hell knows what they're going to do tonight. Last night, everybody thought they were going to start Len. He had a good game. They put Chris in there. They're probably going to mess it up on you again today. So one of these guys is going to be good, but see who's starting. And Cristiano Felicio, he's been pretty solid for Chicago. I mean, there's not much going on there, but they have let him play Robin Lopez's 25 minutes a game. So as long as he's getting that, he's a pretty decent pick, kind of in the same boat as Trevor Ariza and Marvin Williams. I don't see a huge ceiling, but pretty good if you're rounding out a lineup, and especially tonight if you're going to try and fit one of those higher-priced guys in your lineup.
Alrighty, finally we get to the SPN lineup special player of the day. Make sure to have him in your roster for your chance at that $10 in no limit coin on the SPN lineup special tournament. Tonight's player, 6,600 power forward for the Los Angeles Lakers, Kyle Kuzma. Get him in your lineups now. And make sure to check out CryptoFantasySports.com for that tournament. Lots of other tournaments. Check us out on Twitter, the SPN Lineups. Make sure you like the video. So hit that like button. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. Share the love. Share the videos. Good luck, and we will see you tomorrow.
And please, in the comments, tell us how to pronounce Bojan Bogdanovic. And, while you're at it, the other one, too. Bogdan Bogdanovic, whatever his name is.
Bogdan and Bojan.
Happy weekend, everybody.